My name's Haley Smith. I'm 21 years old and I'm from Uxbridge, Ontario. I'm a cross-country mountain biker with the national team, Canadian national team, and I go to Queen's University for kinesiology. So I started just racing local races. There's a local race run by an Uxbridgean down at Durham Forest on Thursday nights, and I started doing that, and then I started racing O-Cups, and then when I started to win those, I started doing Canada Cups. And then when I started to do well at that, then I was invited to go to World Championships as a junior with the Canadian team, which was in Switzerland. So that kind of kick-started my campaign, and since then I've been doing the World Cup circuit, as well as the Canadian and the US Cup circuit. And yeah, now I've had a pretty successful season. I actually won the national champion title this year, bronze medal at Pan American Championships in Colombia earlier this year. I just came off my best World Cup result with a 5th last weekend, so I think that I'm at a pretty good level now, and I hope I can continue with it into a career. But yeah, it was I guess it was a normal progression and one born of love. I want to go to the Olympics. That's my ultimate goal. I would love to win a World Cup at some point, but mostly I just want to be able to do something that I love and that I'm passionate about, and I just want to keep doing it as long as my body will let me. Yeah, at first I think everyone has kind of a facade that they show the world, so even though I seem collected and confident, I don't think that that's true all the time. I still struggle like everyone does. I think every person in the world struggles with their mental wellness to a certain degree and on certain days, and I don't think you achieve a level of mental health and stay there. I think that everyone has ups and downs. My ups and downs were a little bit more than most people experience, I guess, when I was in high school. Yeah, I was always an anxious kid. As far back, I guess, as 2nd grade, I can remember overwhelming anxiety to the point where I just would break down in a panic attack and cry and not be able to handle it. And then I guess it kept progressing until in grade 9, it manifested itself in an eating disorder. So aside from the anxiety, I now was dealing with anorexia nervosa. And it got to the point where I was hospitalized for 2 months on strict bed rest and not allowed to move and until my body weight came back to a level that was sustainable. And then I guess after I was released from the hospital, I spent about a year in different types of therapy, seeing a psychiatrist, a psychologist, a family psychologist. Those help a lot of people. For me, I didn't really feel that they helped, so I had to search for new things. I started mountain biking at that time, which I can't really quantify how it helped me, but I just found a lot of peace on my bike. My family was absolutely instrumental, my boyfriend as well, and I guess that I still struggle with anxiety a little bit, but through all of those things and the experiences, all those people and the experiences that I've had since I was 14, I've learned to manage it. So now I have strategies that when I feel an anxiety episode coming on, I can pretty much calm it down. I think the biggest thing I learned to do that helps me to manage anxiety is I learned to practice mindfulness. So I started practicing yoga at the same time I was released from the hospital, and my aunt actually pushed me into it or suggested I do it. And I learned that the most important thing I can do is be aware of my emotions and be aware of my thoughts. So my main strategy is to take a step back from myself, and it's kind of funny, but I actually picture myself kind of disembodied looking down on myself, and I recognize what I'm feeling. So instead of letting myself think I am anxious, it's a small distinction, but instead I say, oh, I'm feeling anxious. And then as soon as you separate yourself from the feeling, so you're not being the feeling, you're experiencing the feeling, then it's much easier to manage. So that's, I guess, the heart of it. And then once I recognize that, I have some calming down strategies. So exercise, riding my bike is a big one. It just calms me down, helps me find a new plane of thought, reaches a new level-headedness. And then in addition, I have just read, I play guitar, I like to bake. So I just, little things, little activities that are repetitive almost, that just calm me down and bring me to a new state. I think when I was really struggling with anxiety, one of the reasons I wasn't able to deal with it was because I was trying to fix it. So I was trying to think, well, why am I anxious? Why do I feel like this? How can I make it better? Why am I thinking these things? But instead, you just have to not accept it, but recognize that it's okay that you feel that way, and don't try to solve all your problems in the instant that you feel that overwhelming anxiety. Instead, I try to move my thoughts to a different direction, and then when I'm in a calm state and in a better place emotionally, I can look back at those feelings, and then if I want to, try to figure them out. But I've learned to not do that in the moment, in the heat of the moment. Maybe it wasn't a blessing that I went through it, but in some ways it was, because now I'm better able to regulate my emotions and to handle situations that my peers are maybe not quite as equipped to deal with. But I think it's given me just a good perspective on life and on happiness and on how to tie it all together. So I still, like I said, I still feel anxious sometimes, but now I'm okay with it. One thing I always tell kids is that you have to talk about it. You have to open up, because if you don't open up, then it doesn't really make sense. And for me, I guess the reason I decided to tell my story, and when I began speaking at high schools in the fall, was that I decided that the only reason that I wouldn't open up was because I was ashamed of it. And there's absolutely nothing to be ashamed of. So there's no sense in keeping quiet.